Hello friends, thank you for joining me for a new book. This one's called The Emperor Lays an Egg by Brenda, I'm not sure if that's a G or, let me see, looks like Gerberson. Brenda Gerberson. Alright. In late May, an icy winter wind blows across Antarctica. A mother emperor penguin lays an egg. Plop! To keep the egg from freezing, she catches it in her feet and covers it with a flap of skin. Can you see the mother penguin right here? She's got an egg underneath, sitting on her feet. Then, shuffle, shuffle, scoop. The father uses his beak to quickly move the egg to his own feet. He cuddles it against his bare spot on his fat body. Tucked into his brood pouch, the egg is safe and warm. So they have to move the egg from mom's feet over to dad's feet. And daddy will cover it and put it in his brood pouch to keep it warm. Why don't they want to put it on the ice? Yeah. The mother has not eaten for 6 weeks since the penguin arrived at the breeding ground, or rookery. She's exhausted and hungry, but all around her, the surface of the ocean has frozen into thick ice. To find something to eat, she must travel 90 miles to open sea. With small, stiff wings, the emperor penguin cannot fly. She waddles in a line with her mothers at less than 1 mile an hour. Waddle, waddle. In the cold darkness, she climbs up a bumpy slope and struggles around a long, jagged crack. Finally, she finds a field of slick ice, and she toboggans down on her white belly to speed up the 4-day trip. Swoosh, swoosh. This is what happens when they toboggan. They get on their tummy and they slide. Makes it go a lot faster. Can you imagine having to wait 6 weeks to eat and then having to go 90 miles before you could get something to eat? 4 days. That's a long time. All the other wild creatures have left the Antarctic. The wind is too cold and the sun does not shine during the long, dark months of winter. But the father emperor stays behind with thousands of other fathers, each of them taking care of an egg, but none of them have a nest. Instead, they walk carefully, shuffle, shuffle, while they balance the egg on their feet. It's such a strong instinct that one emperor, who doesn't even have an egg, shuffles around with a chunk of ice about the size of a small softball. So they have to shuffle so they don't drop their egg onto the ice. To save his energy during the first 20 days, the father stands as still as a fire hydrant on the very same spot of ice. His 80-pound body is covered with feathers and a thick layer of blubber to help keep him warm. There's nothing to eat, but he gets some energy as his body begins to use the blubber. Howling and whooshing, The cold wind blows against his tough feathers as the snow swirls through the air. He drinks a mouthful. Do you see how he gets water? He opens his mouth and the snow will go in and it'll melt on his tongue. He has to stay very still so he doesn't use all of his energy. The egg is still under here. The blubber is a kind of a fat that surrounds the penguin's body. And he will use that for energy because he can't go get food. Screech and whoosh. Now the wind blasts like a hurricane. It is cold enough to crack teeth and freeze water in the air. An emperor can no longer stay warm by himself. Thousands of penguins with eggs on their feet all huddle together. The father is at the back of the group where there is too much wind. Shuffle, shuffle. He moves slowly around to the front for better shelter. Soon other birds move up and take his place. The temperature is 60 degrees below zero. But each emperor and his egg get a turn to warm themselves in the group. In spite of all the careful shuffling, a few eggs break. But the father's egg stays safe and remarkably warm at 98 degrees. So here they are all gathered together. If you're on the outside, you're colder. But if you're on the inside, you're much warmer. But they each take a turn to get on the inside. The eggs are warm on their feet under their brood patch. 98 degrees. That's as warm as you are right now. In July, the middle of the worst winter blizzard, the emperor's egg is ready to hatch. Cheep, cheep, crack. Out pops a bedraggled little gray chick. The father lets the baby peek out while he cleans up the shell, but then he tucks the baby right back under. In the coldest, windiest, driest place on earth, the father has taken care of the egg for 65 days. He is running out of energy. In his throat, he can make only a small amount of the nutritious liquid called penguin's milk to spit up for the baby. With the tiny emperor still on his feet, the father waits and waits for the mother to return. There's little baby peeking out. The father has something called penguin's milk, but it's not really milk. It's just something that he's kept in his stomach from things that he's eaten, and he's able to push them out of his stomach so he can feed his baby. After another cold week, the father finally hears the trumpet song of his mate. In the frigid darkness, the mother waddles back from the sea with food for the baby. The father lets the tiny emperor out onto the ice, but it's a dangerous moment. In just 2 minutes of exposure, the baby could freeze. Whoosh! The chick shivers in the wind, but the mother scoops it up quickly and covers it with a warm flap of skin. The chick reaches into her throat to gobble a meal of fish and squid that she has spit up. She toddles to the baby, and the baby whistles back as they learn each other's songs. The baby will know its own mother's song, and the mother will know what the baby sounds like. as well. Now the father gets a vacation. He has not eaten for 115 days and has lost half of his body weight. He is thin and dirty, and when he finally leaves the baby to walk across the ice after the storm, so much of the sea is frozen that it takes him 2 weeks to find an opening. When he reaches the edge of the ice, he waits to dive in. Gurgle, gurgle, swish. The water is churning, and snap, a leopard seal hunts for a meal of a penguin. Oh, they have to wait in line. See this big long line before they dive in, because this is a leopard seal. And leopard seals love to eat penguins. When it is safe, the father leaps off the ice with another hungry father. Swish, splash! Now the emperor's wings work like powerful flippers, and he swims like a torpedo. Gulp, gulp, gulp. He gobbles up fish and tiny shrimp-like creatures called krill. Then he takes an incredible 1,000-foot dive down to find the squid that swims deep in the sea. After 3 weeks of eating, he has built up a new layer of blubber. Splat! He leaps out of the water and lands with a belly flop onto the ice. He uses his beak to preen his feathers. Preen is another word for clean. And then he waddles towards the rookery with food for the baby. He's going to take his food back to his baby so the baby can eat and mother can go back out. Now the parents take turns caring for the chick. One. Sorry. Just a second. No. Goodness. I told you she likes to bark. Okay. Where were we? Let's see. They take turns, and the parent keeps the baby warm while the other travels to the sea. Crack, crack. The ice in the rookery is stable, but all around it, the frozen ocean shifts and splits and refreezes. The emperors jump over the crevices and climb slippery slopes to reach the water. As they travel back and forth every meal, they carry in their crop. They carry in their crops must be huge, as much as 7 pounds of food. The 5 months of feeding the chick, they are able to return with only 14 meals. Goodness, they have to carry food in their crop. That's a part, it's kind of like a stomach, but it's not a stomach. It's able to push the food up so the baby can eat. They have to travel a long way, and they can only carry 14 days worth of food, so that's a long way to go. They have to take turns. In August, the red sun returns to shimmer across the ice and warm the air. As the days lighten and the long winter comes to an end, the chick grows too large to sit on its parents' feet. It is time to leave the pouch, build up some muscles, and learn to waddle and toboggan. The chick stands close to the parent for warmth or huddles in a group with other chicks. All over the rookery, fluffy gray babies try out their sharp claws on the ice. A few of them wander off by themselves and are not able to survive in the late spring storm. So they have to stay close to their parents, otherwise they might not survive. They're all fluffy right now. They don't have their adult feathers yet. When the short summer begins, seals, seabirds, and whales return to raise their babies. There is plenty to eat since the sun shining into the water starts a population explosion of algae, krill, and fish. The emperor parents spend more and more time in the water. By December, the 3-foot-tall chick is on its own, but is still unable to get food for itself. First, the baby needs a new coat. Fluffy gray down falls out, and black and white feathers grow in. With its waterproof feathers in place, the chick is ready for the ocean. The ice is breaking up, and the young penguins find the open water all by themselves. Splash, splash, splash. One after another, they dive from a great icy cliff into the sea. When they have their waterproof feathers, then they can go diving and they can go get their food on their own. Until they have those adult feathers, they need their parents to be able to feed them. The mother and father fatten up again during the short summer, but their feathers have taken a beating. In February, as the emperor sits on a floating chunk of sea ice, they lose their old feathers and grow new ones. Packed tightly together like tiny roof tiles, they are 80 waterproof feathers in 1 square inch. So in this much space, there's 80 feathers in that much space. That's a lot. During this molt, that's when they lose their feathers. That's what it's called, a molt. During this molt, the penguins cannot survive in the water, so they spend several more weeks without a bite to eat. Patiently, they wait for the shiny, oily, new feathers that will protect them from the bitter cold. Do you see how the feathers are falling out? That is called molting. While they're molting, they can't eat. They have to wait for those to come out and their new feathers to come in. By early April, the temperature of the autumn air is already down -20 degrees, 20 degrees below zero. And the ocean begins to freeze quickly. As other creatures head north, the mother and the father emperors waddle south. Doo-doo-doo! In the rookery, they trumpet and they bow their heads, along with thousands of other chattering penguins. The young chicks need 6 years to grow up, but the older birds are ready to mate, and they are fat and feathered and ready for winter in the Antarctica, the icy cold season when the emperors lay their eggs. So they can't lay eggs until they're 6 years old. The end. Look at that cute little penguin. So cute. I hope you enjoyed today's book. See you next time. Bye.